TV.
Welcome back. Our discussion of the LGBT issues in the news continues with a panel that I'm completely gay for. I'm happy to welcome via Skype Zach Walls, an LGBT activist and author of My Two Moms and hero of YouTube. Tico Almeida, founder and president of Freedom to Work and an LGBT advocate, and the one and only Richard Socarides, former Clinton advisor and contributor to the NewYorker.com. Gentlemen, what a thrill to have all three of you here tonight. Tico, let me start with you. Was Ellen Sturtz, the activist for the pro-LGBT rights group Get Equal, the least bit justified in heckling the First Lady at that private fundraising event the other day?
You know, she was certainly rude, but it worked. It sparked a conversation that we're having here that's been had on CNN, on major networks, in the Washington Post, about why the president is delaying, now 5 years of delay, on a campaign promise he made to sign that executive order. And I think it's important that we have the debate, and I want that debate to be forward-looking. So the rumor we're hearing here in D.C. is that our wily Vice President Joe Biden has concocted a three-step plan to get this done. Step one, he books himself on Meet the Press this Sunday, says if he were president, he'd sign the executive order. Step two, Jay Carney goes crazy, tries to pull it back, says Joe was talking about some other order. And of course, after a few days of controversy and media hype, step three, the president goes on Good Morning America, says he's evolved, and he signs. So
well, if memory serves, you have to have Arnie Duncan get in there in the middle and endorse it as well. But I like your plan.
It worked last year, and I hope it works this year.
Well, it did. And Zach, let me bring you in. The activist who heckled Michelle Obama vowed to stop what she called being a nice lesbian as part of her personal mission to get equal rights for gay people. I think trying to get equal rights is being an extremely nice lesbian, but that's now that some progress is being made for the LGBT community. Do you think there's a danger of folks being too nice and docile about things and not keeping the pressure on?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of it goes back to...
Whoop. Okay, I think we're having a little bit of trouble with Zach's audio, although for Skype it actually doesn't look like a hostage video, so hopefully we can get that fixed right away. Richard, I'll bring it into you while we clear up Zach's audio. A lot of folks are upset that the president hasn't signed this executive order, and why do you think he hasn't done it yet? Is he waiting to see if there's any movement on ENDA in the House and Senate, or is it something he's saving for the midterm election year next year?
I mean, it's very hard to understand why he hasn't signed it. The Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA, is a bill that he supports, but Democratic presidents going back to Bill Clinton have supported it, and it will not pass the Republican House of Representatives.
It won't.
So waiting for ENDA, we could all wait a very long time until we get a majority back in the House. I think that there were clearly some people right before the election in the Democratic Party and perhaps close advisors to him who advised him against doing this, maybe because it would be seen as putting another requirement on corporate America. It might be seen as a hindrance to job creation. But it is none of those things. No one ever has made a case that it is. So it's way past time that he signed it. And I think, Michelle Obama was giving a political speech to a political audience.
Indeed she was.
And, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, there's that free speech door swings both ways. Zach, I'm not sure if we don't have you yet. Okay, well then let me go back to you, Tico. Is the progress that's happened in same-sex marriage during the Obama administration proof that politically calculated incremental change is the way to go? Is radical advocacy self-defeating?
I think all kinds of advocacy are necessary. It takes a village. We need insiders. We need outsiders. We need people lobbying. We need people filing lawsuits. As you know, I was here a few weeks ago talking about the blockbuster lawsuit we just filed against ExxonMobil, a major federal contractor that has taken billions of dollars in our taxpayer money, and they refuse to follow the rest of corporate America. They refuse to follow Chevron and Texaco in treating gay and transgender people with basic dignity. So exactly. I think it's all kinds of activism, whether it's lobbying, litigation, direct action. We need all of it.
Well, Zach Walls is back. And Zach, bringing you back in, today, of course, the law allowing marriage equality went into effect in Minnesota. So is gay marriage just on an unstoppable march, or do you think we're still going to see bumps in the road in the weeks and years to come?
Well, looking at what happened just last week in Illinois and a lot of the uncertainty that we're seeing in that state, as well as the reality, of course, that we have nearly 30 states where we have to either reverse these constitutional amendments that have been implemented at the state level or look to a sweeping Supreme Court decision. There's clearly going to be a lot of work. There are going to be a lot of bumps in the roads ahead. Ultimately, I would certainly agree with Dan and what he said in the A block about how this is really going to be, I think, from the long-term point of view, kind of a done deal. But in the medium term and the short term, there's still going to be plenty of setbacks, and we can't get cocky, and we can't think that this is going to be inevitable. We have to make it happen.
And because I didn't get to ask you this before, what are your thoughts on the president signing an executive order banning discrimination against LGBT Americans in the workplace?
Well, it would be for federal contractors, not just blanket employers. But I think it's absolutely something that the president should do. And I'm like everybody else on this panel, very disappointed that he hasn't done so yet. Frankly, I don't understand his political calculus. But I hope that he can be brought to understand, whether it's through the heckling of his wife, which I would agree is certainly a rude way to do it, but we're all talking about it, or through some kind of internal conversation that he has to have with the administration, that he can get that done.
Okay, before we go, I'm going to be completely inappropriate and ask you guys your opinion on a cultural matter, because we just saw the highest ratings, I believe, for an original film in HBO history for Steven Soderbergh's film about Liberace and Scott Thorson, Behind the Candelabra. I was struck to see a mainstream film that had almost exclusively heterosexual actors playing gay roles. I want to ask your opinion, just around the table really quick. Is this an issue, or does it not matter as we see more out gay actors playing straight parts? Is the fact that it was an almost completely heterosexual cast a sign of progress? Richard, let me begin with you.
I think the answer is yes. I think that just as gay actors can play straight roles, we're going to let straight people play us.
Yes, although Michael Douglas will remind us all how straight he is as soon as the premiere is over.
I hope Matt Damon plays me in the movie.
I'll talk to him about that. Zach, what do you think? What did you think of the casting in the film?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Richard. And historically speaking, this has definitely been, for me, Birdcage was kind of a big, interesting movie about the community when I was growing up. That was obviously starring Robin Williams. But I think this is definitely, but you start to see, folks who are a little bit less eccentric than Robin playing these characters. I agree, it's definitely a sign of progress.
And Tico, what are your thoughts culturally on it? Is it a sign of progress that we can have all straight actors playing gay roles with some rather specific sex scenes, and there's no big outcry?
I agree with what's been said, and frankly, I thought the biggest stretch in the casting is having Matt Damon, who's about my age, play an 18-year-old was a little bit of a stretch. He didn't quite pull that off, but it was a good movie. Well,
fortunately, he has that painting of himself in the attic that's aging for him. I'd like to thank my guest, Mr. Zach Walls. Be sure to check out his book, My Two Moms, and Tico Almeida, founder and president of Freedom to Work. Thank you both so much. Richard Socarides will be sticking around, and up next, we'll be talking about the government snooping on everybody's Verizon phone calls. Although if you work for the NSA, you already heard us talking about this on the phone earlier today. We'll be right back.